It is Wednesday, September 16th. We're off to a bit of a late start this evening. It's 6:42 p.m. and I'm calling this evening's meeting of the Board of Education to order. As president of the Nashua Board of Education, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order 12, pursuant to order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possible by video or other electronic means. To join by phone, please dial 1-877-853-5257, meeting ID 275-87924. That's 821-275-87924, passcode 326654. Although please note that public comment is not usually till the end of our meetings when we're in remote. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing this meeting through public postings. In the event the public is unable to access the meetings, the meeting can be adjourned and rescheduled. Let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Mr. Guarino.
Thank you, Madam President. Raymond Guarino is here and there is no one else in the room. Paula Johnson.
I'm here, and the only thing that's in the room is my cat, and you might hear my dogs bark on the outside. That's it.
Sandra Ziem.
I'm present and I'm alone.
Jennifer Bishop.
I'm here. My kids are here, but they won't be influencing anything that I'm doing like normal.
Sharon Giglio.
Here, and there's no one in the room with me.
Jessica Brown.
I'm here and I am alone in the room. Thank you.
Heather Raymond.
I'm here. I am not entirely alone. My kids are here. My dogs are here. It's extraordinarily noisy over here this evening, but I will do my best to keep everything quiet.
Dottie Oden.
I'm here, and at this point, I'm alone in the room.
Gloria Timmons.
I'm here and I'm alone in the room.
Okay. Also with us tonight, we have Dr. Mosley. We have Dr. McKinney.
Here.
Mr. Parker. Mr. Donovan.
Here.
We have Ms. Marsha Bagley.
Here.
Ms. O'Gara.
Here.
Ms. Kinsella.
Here.
And we also have our student representatives, Mr. Gao.
I'm here, but I'm in the car with my mother because she's driving me back home from a golf match.
And Mr. Norris.
I am here.
And I think that's everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Guarino. So this evening I'm asking that we do things a little bit differently. We do have a presentation about remote learning and hybrid learning and staffing that I know everybody is very eager to get to. However, we also have a non-public student change of assignment request that I would like to move to the beginning of our agenda unless there are any objections from the board. So that family doesn't have to sit through our entire agenda before.
So moved.
Okay, the motion is
Sorry.
The motion was by Ms. Timmons. I'll say seconded by Ms. Bishop. Mr. Guarino, when you're ready, could you call the roll?
Okay, on the motion for non-public, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Stan Drazine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0. We are in non-public at 6:48 PM.
We are back in public. Mr. Guarino, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I move to seal the minutes of the non-public.
Yeah, we just have to note the time that we're back in public.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's 7:39 PM.
Okay.
And Mr. Guarino has a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Ziem. When you're ready, Mr. Guarino, with the roll.
Okay. On the motion to seal the minutes, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0 at 7:41 PM.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Guarino. And now we can get started with our agenda for the evening. Thank you so much for everybody who's been so patient. We just have a lot. These are unprecedented times, and it is an unprecedented workload for everybody in the district, and I'm sure all of our families are feeling the same way. So to speak to this unprecedented time, Dr. Mosley has a presentation for us regarding remote and hybrid plans and staffing and criteria, tons of updates that I'm really excited to hear. Thank you so much.
Can everyone see that? All right. Good evening to the public. Good evening to everyone. Tonight, I'm going to give an update on hybrid learning, hybrid versus remote. I also, for the public, I just want to just preface this and say that this is a unprecedented time in history for all of us. I can't think of a time when we didn't start school in the fall and all of those fall events that we have been exposed to and used to. I also want to say that there are some things we're learning along the way that I'll point out that as we start to go down this road of reopening our schools, that there are some factors that we have control over and there are some factors we don't. The one thing I want to say is that we can sit here and say, Dr. Mosley did this wrong, or, Dr. McKinney did this, Anthony Parker did this, or, the board misvoted on something. That this isn't about blame. This isn't about individuals trying to say this went wrong. We're all trying to do the best we can from our living rooms with our dogs barking, with our kids coming in and out. It is what it is. And we all are, that's against the backdrop of trying to keep ourselves safe, our loved ones safe, and what have you. So tonight I'm going to give an update. I'm also going to talk about some little modifications. I don't want it to be a surprise to the public, but I also think it's important to be honest and upfront and tell you the truth, whether it's good news or bad news. So that's the intent of this presentation. So I just felt like just to give a quick student update on what we saw when we did the surveys. All this is online and on our website. But this gives you a brief overview of the number of people who responded according to grade level. So for example, we had, and for the public, and there are going to be some mathematicians out there that are going to like, Dr. Mosley didn't calculate that all correct. I'm just estimating. So we had about 4,500-ish people who participated at the elementary school, and they indicated that 46% of them were okay with the remote learning. And there is another 50% of our respondents actually said that they were okay, would be amendable to a hybrid model. As we drop down to our middle school, we had 41 or 42% that were amendable to remote learning, and then we saw 56% for the hybrid. And then at the high school was 37% remote. That was 37% of the respondents 37% of the people who participated in the survey or respondents said that they would continue with remote learning, and 61% of our respondents said that they would do hybrid. So, there's clearly there's a slight predilection to move towards hybrid, and we'll talk a little bit about what that feels and looks like. I do want to recognize that the population that responded is not indicative of the entire district. We probably had about 9,000-ish people who responded. I say 9,000-ish. We still have about 2,000 families that we had to reach out individually. So please take these numbers at what they are. They're just giving you a flavor of what has happened so far. Okay. So when we talk about our staff and we talk about certain things that have popped up recently, we have to remember that there are some laws in place. For example, the American Disabilities Act, and the employees may request accommodations if they have pre-existing conditions that put them at risk for COVID-19. A typical accommodation during the pandemic is to work remotely or other accommodations in place. And this is not anyone taking a lead. Dana, if I miss something, please just kind of indicate if I miss something or something I should add as well. Please feel free to add to that. And for the public, I don't want to read slide by slide, so I am going to generalize, but it certainly gives you a flavor of what we're talking about.
So I just want to add to that our essential workers, like food service and custodial staff, if they asked for a combination, they couldn't work remotely. They would take a leave, but that's a small percentage.
Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Our EFMLA employees can take a leave for childcare when their school is closed or where they have a childcare worker who is unable to care for a child due to COVID-19. The employees pay 2/3 of their pay or 12 weeks. If they decide to use EFMLA, we have to hire a substitute teacher to do this. The substitute has to be hired as the employee is not allowed to work while collecting for leave. So you can't go on leave and collect or work in a different environment. And this is a federal act that will or can expire by the end of the year. Family Leave Act, this is nothing new. We have had this since I would say probably 2000. I'm sorry, 1990. Is that correct, Dana?
Yeah.
During the Clinton administration.
Yep.
And employees can take a leave for themselves or designate a family member who has a serious health condition that incapacitates them from working or to care for a family. We can hire a substitute teacher, and it's also applicable to our paraeducators as well. Teacher substitutes have to be fully certified, and that's important. We'll get to that later. If the assignment is 21 days or more. It may be difficult to find subs at times because depending on the area of certification, requests for EMA will increase moving forward as the year progresses. And we'll get to that a little bit more later as we start to talk a little bit about and again, I know for the public, I've been working in these terms for like the last month, but FMLA, EFMLA, and ADA, the big question is, how does this fit into the big picture? What does it mean? And I'll certainly show you that. Okay. For employees paid sick leave, again, this isn't anything new. This is for reasons employees can take this type of pay leave is they're subject to quarantine. They have a healthcare provider advise the employee to self-quarantine due to concerns related or connected to COVID-19. The employee is experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 and seeking medical diagnosis. the employees caring for an individual, when some of our families are right now who's been affected, and employees caring for a child who has been close or in place or a place of care that is unavailable due to COVID-19. Anything else on that, Dana?
No.
All right. So, to the public and to the board, what does that really mean? And so basically what we're looking at as a district, and I just want to be very, very clear that these numbers are not set in stone. These numbers continue to move. It's no one's fault. But as we start to look at a district, as we start to think about how we're going to move forward to a hybrid version or implement a hybrid version, we got to make sure we have enough teachers. We got to make sure that our staff our classrooms are staffed. And so when we looked at here, this column, we have FMLA requests according to our grade level, EFMLA according to grade level, and ADA according to our grade levels. And just to give you a sense, community, is that here are the teachers that are put in for FMLA, EFMLA, and ADA. Keep it in mind, we said substitute teachers, so you can see how many subs we've hired, and then here is the number we still need. And so I just want to say, do you need 101 teachers? No, not necessarily 101 teachers, but we need the appropriate balance of educators and people in our classrooms and teaching remotely to support our hybrid model as we proposed. And I'll show you what I mean by that. If you jump over here to our paraeducators here, we've had 12 at the elementary school, two at the middle, 3 at the high school, total of 17. And as you can see in this column, we're still having trouble hiring paraeducators. Yes, we've posted for those positions, and yes, we've posted for the teaching positions. If I can back up, I know some of the secondary people are probably out there thinking like, Dr. Mosley hasn't mentioned the certifications. And I think the certification at the secondary level is very, very important. As we start to think about substitutes, we just can't put anyone in there to be a substitute chemistry teacher or physics teacher. At our secondary schools, you have to have certification within the discipline to teach in the class. And I'll show you what that feels and looks like in the next slide. So what does it look like? Again, understand, please to the public, please to the secondary, please to everyone out there. These positions don't have names to them. They do have names to them per se, but I just wanted to show the public what it feels and looks like. And when you look at just these are ADA requests. And what these requests represent is that these are educators and teachers who have pre-existing conditions or family members that have pre-existing conditions that cannot be in our buildings during the hybrid. All right. And what that means is that the district has to find teachers to come in who are certified, in this case, at the high school level to cover, particularly in person. Now, I'll just jump on just a couple of things. I'll go to the south and then I'll go to the north. One of the challenges is that it's a challenge to find a Spanish and a German teacher in any environment, never mind in this environment, but to come in and be substitute teachers. And as you look at this at the north, you see social studies teachers, science teachers. We also need these teachers to come in and teach in person because we have teachers who are out on ADA or made ADA requests because they have pre-existing conditions or they have a loved one that has pre-existing conditions, but also meet some of the criteria for the ADA. No one's fault. It's a reality. But the reality is that at the secondary level, we need to make sure that if we are going to have substitute teachers, we want to make sure that they're certified and they can continue to facilitate the teaching and learning in our district. Just to move to our middle school, again, these are rough numbers. And I say this, and I said it, and I'll just back up. I also say it for the high school as well, because we are getting requests on the hour that people are making these tough decisions in this environment, and I totally understand. At our high school, this is Elm. We get about, right as of today, I'm sorry, as of the 4th, we had 11 teachers who made the request for ADA. Oh. At Fairgrounds, we are looking at ELL teachers, special education teachers, and ELA teachers and science teachers who've also made requests for ADA, excuse me. And as of the 4th, we had five at Penachuk Middle School. And again, I just want to reiterate, these numbers change. So partly what has happened, if I can jump into our elementary schools, and these numbers are all very fluid. And as some of you can see, is that we do have, you'll see some parity and then you'll see some discrepancies. And so right now, what we have on record as of 9/4, we have 133 classrooms that are district-wide for elementary school for hybrid, and 105 for remote as well. I want to take a big step back and say that this doesn't mean the elementary schools are okay, because it doesn't mean that at all. It means that there's a disproportionate amount of kids at times, that disproportionate a number of kids depending on the elementary school that can be assigned to a hybrid class or a remote class. And for those principals out there, I hear you. I totally understand what you're saying. I've talked to both Garth and Anthony on this, and they did share your concerns around the logistical pieces to this. And to the public, I just want to let you know that the administrators and teachers, staff, directors are working diligently to try to make this all work. In terms of equity and trying to balance the numbers, it's in some ways we're sensitive to the employees who are making these requests around ADA, FMLA, and FMLA because of their personal needs and what have you. And that's nothing that in this environment we have to be sensitive to, and to make sure that we do two things. Number one, everyone's got to be safe. That's it. Number two, we provide a quality education and a safe environment for our kids. And we also do it in a way that we don't want the disruption of the teaching and learning process to come about in the district. So it's about planning. Okay, I see a crowd. Oh. It's about planning. It's about being proactive and understanding where the staffing is in terms of pulling off the hybrid. I'm sorry, pulling off the hybrid and the remote learning. Okay, this was just a snapshot, and I wanted to provide, again, this is a snapshot. This has changed since since this presentation, but this was a snapshot of, you see elementary school, I put 1, you see hybrid classroom 13, and then you see remote classroom 7. So this particular school has imbalance. And so balancing means that, being creative, and be creative in a way where in some places you can't be creative because you don't have the teachers. As I shared earlier today in the presentation, that we did need some elementary teachers, but we might not be able to balance those classrooms in the in-person, in some cases in the remote, if we don't get those positions hired for substitute teachers as a result of some of our staffing concerns. Okay, so I'll turn it over to Masha. I think it's important to understand that special ed plays a significant role in what we're doing. If some of you are not familiar with it, Emergency Act 64 has significantly changed the landscape on what we have to do. And I say we have to do because this isn't coming from me. This isn't coming from Masha. This is a state order coming from the governor that we have no choice but to implement. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Masha, and then Masha, you can talk, and then I'll come back.
Sure. So right now we are operating fully remote with all students, and We just outlined some of the things that are going well for our special education students. We're holding all of our meetings that need to be held within compliance with the state guidelines. Students have much more set schedules than they did in the spring when we transitioned quickly to remote learning. Our students are having much more face-to-face time, and we've become very creative with establishing materials and routines. And some of our students are proving to be extremely successful in this setting. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Excuse me. So some of the things that we are still facing challenges with are we're not able to provide our hands-on services for our students who require those types of services at this time. We are working on it starting October 5th, and I think we'll be talking more about that in a little bit. We are planning on having students, special education students, into our buildings to receive hands-on in-person services. We're also struggling or challenged with creating equitable schedules for providing in-person services across the district and meeting the needs of all of our students currently in this remote learning setting is also challenging. We're also trying to address concerns from parents in a timely fashion. It can be challenging though, because not all of the concerns are being directed to my office. They are going to other people or other entities and coming to me secondhand. So we try to address concerns in a timely fashion, but we also have a lot of meetings scheduled throughout our days. So our turnaround time is not always the fastest either, as fast as I'd like. And we've also not yet started the in-person services for our students, so we don't know what other potential issues may lay ahead with that. But we have met with all of our staff and are discussing the ways we can provide those in-person services in the safest manner possible for everyone.
Thank you, Marsha. Just to give you an update on ELL, the attendance has been positive. We're seeing an improvement in computer literacy skills. I say improvement, much better than the spring. We do have partnerships with the Boys and Girls Club to provide computer literacy training for our students, partner with the United Way. I think this came up to, I can't remember, something around daycare. One of the board members mentioned that about partnerships. I'm not sure if that was Ms. Oden, or I'm looking at you, Mrs. Eam, or maybe Ms. Giglio, I'm not sure. But certainly we follow through on that. The other piece is too, and that there's also some challenges too. We're also reaching out to students who have not checked in, and keep in mind we're on day 7 of remote instruction, and so that's still coming about. We're also some families with siblings still need more devices, and we're still trying to work through that as well. And that's not just with ELL, but that's also district-wide as well. So, as much as we've made some improvements on our ELL, there are still some challenges. So I wanted to make sure that the board and the public know the picture on how we're doing, the big picture on how we're doing with ELL. All right, so here's some lessons learned. And when I gave a presentation probably about a month ago, I said it's all about epidemiology. Well, I'm going to say I was wrong. I actually was wrong. In fact, it's about epidemiology and the appropriate staff. And so when you combine those two, it allows the hybrid piece to take place. So lessons learned and some things to think about is that when you look at the big picture and you look at this, is that it's really about making sure you have enough staff, and it's really about the epidemiology. And I just wanted to take a step back and thank our, knocking on wood and our kids. And there are so many things to focus on that are not happening, but there are some things that we should focus on that are happening. And I just wanted to thank Lisa Gingras, the coaches, all of the individuals who are, and the kids too, our student athletes, our kids, for making good choices so far. And please keep making them because it keeps our extracurricular activities alive, but it also allows us to do more interesting things and more creative things in this environment when we're doing what we're doing and wearing our masks and practicing social distancing. But this model is what I would say an update on where we're at in terms of moving our district to the hybrid model that was proposed. I also want to share with the public tonight that the epidemiology is, yes, it's down, but I also want to share with the public that where we have concerns around the staffing and being able to provide the in-person pieces to our kids because of our staffing. And so with that said, we had to go back to the drawing board and come up with something that is creative and yet puts us on the path for a hybrid reopening. And that's what this meeting is about tonight. And that's what the proposal or an adjustment to our schedule looks like for our model moving to hybrid. I also want to recognize that our parents need to know, our staff need to know exactly what's on tap and where to move forward, because I know there's daycare issues, parent transportation, and what have you. And that's what I want to talk to the public about tonight and to the board. If I could just kind of, I know I've gone through a lot of slides here, but just to, and then I'm going to jump to one slide here. This slide is by far probably the most important slide. And right now, if you look at the FMLA, EFMLA, and ADA, right down here, it looks like there's 101 positions, but it's not really 101 positions. If you just look at the FMLA and EFMLA, yes, those are positions. But the ADA is people who have pre-existing conditions that cannot come into the building. We still need to offer an in-person component to that, an in-person component at all of these levels here for the hybrid. And so with that said, those jobs, the needs of the district have been posted in terms of our seeking subs. If many of you who have been in education for some time know that it's very difficult to get subs in a normal environment, nevertheless, this environment, but we're still giving it the good effort to make sure that we can do that. So what does that feel and look like? How are we going to move forward? And so, you know, part of what my proposal is tonight is an adjustment to our time frame. And it may be popular, it may not be popular to the public. But one of the things I'm not going to do is that I'm not going to sit here and prevaricate to the public. I'm also going to say that we do not have, as of right now, the substitutes to, or the teaching capacity to do it, the original hybrid model that we had proposed. And as soon as we can get these positions filled responsibly, we'll be able to move forward. So we got to take little baby steps to still move in a hybrid, to move towards a hybrid. So one of the things that we propose for this updated timeline is that for the October 1st, we would start to phase in the special education elementary students with transportation for elementary school special education for the October 5th. We'd have to, the proposal was to wait for 2 weeks to make sure that we do it right, make sure that we get all the schedules correct. I mean, and make sure we have PPE material. We do have the PPE material coming in, and I can get to that in a sec. But also, we have to monitor the staff as well. If you recall, if you look back at the slides, and I'll make sure it's public, that we still have to do some hiring for special education teachers in this environment to provide mandated state services for our kids. October 13th, we're looking just for special education right now to phase that in for services, for in-person services for special education kids as well. October 26th, I use the word ish, not to be vague, but again, in this environment, things change, provided that we have the right schedules. I'm saying it's scheduled, we have the scheduling and the faculty to make sure that this comes to fruition. We would do the high school special education. Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. No, I didn't actually. I want to jump back to October 26th. October 26th, again, provided that we have the correct staffing, we're looking to do in-person kindergarten for October 26th, wait 2 weeks, and then November 9th, we would bring in our first graders district-wide in person. I want to stop right there and say that if epidemiology is working well, our staffing is up to where we're at, 2 weeks later, we would bring in our second graders. Again, if our staffing is really well, we would continue along the lines of bringing in a grade by grade. Some of you are looking at this schedule and it's not popular, and I get it, totally get it, but it's the right thing and the responsible thing to do. To me, this is not, and to us, I shouldn't say to me, but to us, this is a marathon and not a sprint. And I care most about staff and student safety. And if it means that we have to take it slower and bring this in methodically, then that's the right way to go. We have our extracurriculars happening right now. And, I know it's not popular. I know it's not popular to roll back this schedule the way it is, but it's the right thing to do in a district this size. I recognize that there are surrounding districts that are in full person. I recognize that they're K through 12 in full person, but that's not going to work for a place like Nashua. And what we have going here as well. There hasn't been a sleepless night for my administrative team and myself that we haven't scoured the nation for a creative way to move the district in a way that we can get everyone back. But the reality is that we have to balance the staff and the student safety, and this is our way of balancing it. When we looked at our remote learning, and this is a summary of some things that we were thinking about, a summary of some things that we have to consider as well. We looked at the logistics, as I talked to you about today, teachers. And it's important to know that Nashua is the second, the second largest employer in the city. We have a lot of people connected to us. Our substitutes, we're trying to do the best we can to get as many substitutes in our district, but that's a challenge. Paraeducated as well. And our lunch staff, our crossing guards, bus drivers, all of those things factor into whether we can open or not. I didn't want to go back to a full hybrid. We didn't want to get too much into the busing, but all of this we have to make sure that our bus drivers are safe as well. And they're able to drop our kids off and to pick them up and at home as well, drop them off at home as well. I don't like to say this too much, but if you woke up this morning or the other morning, it was a little chilly out there. And with that said, we're right around the corner from flu season. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a nurse or anything like that, but I did talk to our head nurse, Gina Lopez, and she indicated to me that we're moving into flu season. I also wanted to back up, and this is going to, we'll have the details later, but this delay too, and I'm not going to get into whether people want to get the flu shot or not, but it also, my proposed timeline also coincides with the health department offering free flu shots at our at selected locations. One of them I know it's going to be at Elm Street, but it's certainly something that the public can take advantage of as we start to move forward in our hybrid model, but just in a slower pace. Finally, I just wanted to touch upon some things in terms of miscellaneous. I didn't want to get into a lot of the nitty gritty, but to our faculty, I know there's been some discussion around Fridays or the off day. It's not a free day. It's not a day to shut off the computer. It's a day to, in some ways, engage our students differently. When I say differently, it's a day that some of our teachers are doing what they do. They do extra help sessions. They do some things with kids. They're doing some remediation, but it's not an off day. Also, I know there's been some discussion about UA teachers at the elementary school, and I know Dr. McKinney's school are working with them on that. I also want to say that our remote learning, I call it 2.0, the most recent edition, has been published on our website. And I said that, certainly I say it's a draft, but we recognize that there's probably more feedback coming as we start to go down this path. It is definitely an evolution, but once we get the next edition up, we'll certainly get it posted. but we want to make sure that, we heard the feedback. And again, it's hard for us to balance that feedback because we try to be explicit as we can and very detailed, but yet we recognize that the teachers want some sense of flexibility and autonomy to move within the guidelines or recommendations within that 2.0 remote learning. And finally, I just thought it would be nice to see is, when we talk about our kids coming back, we talk about our special education and what I would say are phasing into the hybrid is what to expect. What type of materials are we going to get? And so I think this is a nice, thank you, Tara, for taking these pictures and just kind of giving the public and our teachers a sense of spray bottles that are going to be available, gloves that are going to be available, sanitizing. Do we have a picture of Masha? Oh, I thought we took a picture of Masha. I thought we had that picture, Masha, of the gown.
We did. I'm not sure you're using the same version that I made.
Oh, no. It's your fault, Tara.
I think so.
Oh, I was waiting. Did I use the wrong version? Oh, my goodness. It's your fault. Okay. But this gives you a sense of, no, by the way, for the public, it's not her fault. I'm messing with her. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's not, she's the most organized. I'm the disorganized one. But it gives you a flavor of, if you can't, to the public, if you can't see this down here, this is like a protective shield that we have used that you'll see in your schools. I think probably the most creative, maybe I'll put it out on Twitter or something, is that I actually think Gabby and Tara have the best protective gear. And what they really put up, I'll put it on Twitter. They purchased a $2 shower curtain and actually kind of created a nice barrier. All of those things are just being creative, and we're trying to do the best we can. But I also wanted to give people a flavor of what to expect. You'll get PPE material when you return to the building. If you don't, please don't worry. Please contact the building principal. We'll get it right to you. We're moving as quickly as we can. I know Miss Raymond, I just read something over wires that there was a nice vestibule set up over at Birch Hill. And certainly, you'll see that throughout the entire district. Thank you.
Okay, I apologize. I'm having some connectivity, so I have my screen video off to try and help with that. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Thank you very much, Dr. Mosley, for that very long presentation about where we're at. I really appreciate it because I think we're all wondering where things stand, and it's nice to have an update 2 weeks in. I would like to hear a little bit more about special education and emergency order 64, if you don't mind. And then nobody has written in the chat that they wanted to speak, so I'll go with my question first. And then after that, we'll go to Ms. Bishop, because apparently she did ask to speak and I just missed it. So if someone could give me a little bit more information about emergency order 64 and how that relates to the special education plan.
Sure. So emergency order 64 or executive order 64, they're both are used simultaneously, was issued by Governor Sununu on August 11th. And it basically states that school districts cannot make unilateral decisions regarding what model special education students will be participating in. So it states that we have to make individualized decisions about each of our special education students to determine what level of in-person supports our students may need in order to receive a free, appropriate public education. So what that means for our special education students is that some of our special education students may be in the building at the same times as their regular ed peers, which may be 2 days on the hybrid model, or it could be up to 4 full days, depending on the level of services the student requires and the level of support in order to make progress. Each of those decisions, though, need to be made by individual teams, special education teams. So we've been scheduling and holding meetings as quickly as we can. It's been a very busy few days. This also, though, means that we may need to rearrange students and staff into different buildings depending upon the number of students we have present. It wouldn't make sense to have 2 students in one building and 2 students in another building when we could combine the programs. Also, we may have too many students for some classrooms, so we would have to split them up. Some students families can still choose to remain fully remote. It's up to the individual families, but each special education student will have those discussions. Of concern can be that the access to the typically developing peers will be limited or none, depending on social distancing requirements and the model in which the rest of the district is participating in. We've also been holding meetings to discuss compensatory services, which was part of emergency order number 48 that was issued back in May. So for parents who are listening, if you have not heard from your case manager to schedule a meeting, please know that they are working on scheduling those meetings. There's just 2,100 meetings to hold in a short amount of time is challenging while we're trying to teach remotely as well. Mrs. Raymond, did you have any specific questions?
No, I think you covered it. I was just curious about how we were going to handle the 2,100 students, all of whom need to be given the option of getting some services in person if their families wanted it. So I feel better about that. So I do have now a list of people wishing to speak who have questions. So my list is Ms. Bishop, Ms. Brown, Ms. Johnson, and Ms. Ziem. And did I miss anybody else? Okay, no one else is waving. So I will say that that's the order. So go ahead, Ms. Brown. I'm sorry, Ms. Bishop.
Can't hear you. Can't hear.
I should turn mute off. Sorry, trying to consolidate things. Just a quick question. It sounds like dates need to be changed, and some things need to be rearranged to accommodate everybody's needs. Where do we stand on having the Chromebooks delivered, getting the bandwidth into the schools? Where do we stand on the extra remote stuff that we needed at the beginning of the school year?
That's a good question, and Greg's not here, so I apologize for not having him here. It's my understanding, and Ms. Bishop, if I don't answer your question by tonight, I can certainly make sure that Greg connects with you in some way to give you an update. It's my understanding that the Chromebooks have been distributed to our kids to get them started. I know that we're still probably going to offer maybe 1 or 2 more days just in case there's a couple of stragglers that didn't get the Chromebooks. I can share with you that the technology distribution has been a challenge in the sense that when you're giving out, I don't have the number in front of me, about 27 Chromebooks to the public for remote learning. When it comes to the hybrid, that means you've lost 2,700 Chromebooks that you would probably used in the schools. So the question is, what are you going to do? And what we've done is that we've ordered, don't quote me on the 2,700, we've ordered 2,700 more Chromebooks to replace the ones that we sent out when we start to transition to the hybrid model as well. Greg, we've also provided, you said the bandwidth. I can't speak to the bandwidth right now. I just don't have that information, but I can get that to you.
Well, I'm just wondering if we need to be pushing the dates back. It sounds like we need to be accommodating for more remote learning. And I know we were kind of struggling with getting everybody what they needed, either if they were teaching from within the classroom into students' homes, or getting the students within each household the appropriate amount of Chromebooks. Because I know that some people are still, a couple of kids to one Chromebook, which is great that we can offer it at all. But I think if we're looking at, you know, not having the kind of supports that we need to get back into the level of hybrid that we were hoping to, how feasible is it to get the remote learning to a standard that we were hopeful for, without back orders and without waiting on other agencies like Comcast and whatnot to get their stuff into where we needed it?
The only thing I can say, Ms. Bishop, is that we do not have the capacity to offer at this time parents or family, excuse me, multiple devices. We just can't do that. So it is one, unfortunately. When we get more devices in, and we've already placed that order through the CARES Act, we are going to start to get those Chromebooks in and certainly provide a more robust support to those families that need an additional Chromebook. In terms of Comcast has offered free, internet throughout the city, and there's been, I'm not sure. So that's, I don't want to misspeak on technology and then people come back and say you didn't quote this right. So I'm a little bit out of my depth in a sense that you're asking about bandwidth. You're also asking about additional supports for our families. And certainly the only thing that I can speak to is that we've already placed an order for more Chromebooks in the environment of a pandemic. And it's going to take a lot longer because we're not the only game in town that's ordering Chromebooks for our kids. So I can get back to you on the bandwidth, Ms. Bishop. And there's just another question that you had that I didn't address.
It was, so it sounds like what you're saying is hybrid is kind of on the fritz, which makes remote learning happening a little bit longer than what we were expecting.
Correct.
So where do we stand on making remote learning more accessible to every student?
For the Chromebook?
I think that's the general question I'm asking.
Yeah, I hear you. As of right now, I'll just answer it this way, and then I can certainly get back to you in terms of the bandwidth. As of right now, we cannot offer families multiple devices or 2 devices because we do not have enough in the district right now. So when we get that order in, we can certainly explore that feasibility of offering those families multiple devices if they need them, but we don't have the capacity right now.
I'm a little, I want to do right by everybody, obviously. Mm-hmm. I obviously want to support whatever families want to be at home doing the remote. I want to support the families that are comfortable doing a hybrid. And of course, I would love it if the world worked out where we could do full back to school.
So would I, trust me.
But it kind of feels like we're looking at moving dates, but we don't have the materials yet for it. So I'm just hesitant about kind of pushing things out without being able to offer families more. So I guess I would like to know when the Chromebooks are anticipated to be delivered, when we can expect to have the appropriate bandwidth in both the high schools and the middle school and the elementary schools. And I would like to know if the teachers who are able to work from home because of their needs, if they have all the appropriate resources to successfully teach from the position they're in. So I know we are 100% recreating the wheel right now in regards to education, and that there's an amount of flexibility and sensitivity that we need to give to each of these subjects. I just want to make sure that we're not leaving any stone unturned. And I know it makes for long meetings and it makes for aggravating decisions by everybody. But if we don't ask the questions, then we don't know what we're needing. So I don't want you to think I'm being negative. I'm just being overly cautious because
I don't feel
that's
that way.
what we're here to do.
I don't feel that way at all. Nope.
Okay. But yeah, if I could get update, or if we could get updates, if everybody wants it on, when when all those things will be in place.
I'll give you an update by the end of the week. Thank you for the questions.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bishop. Ms. Brown?
I think you're on mute. 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 You're on mute.
Thank you. All right. So this is actually, I guess, goes back to Mrs. Bagley. What counts specifically as special ed that would be allowed in the building, or is that all entirely based on how their meeting goes? Would a student who's in a typical classroom but has significant IEPs be eligible to return to school under this model?
Those determinations are made by each individual IEP team. So the teams need to. There's a set of questions that were developed in accordance with the Emergency Order 64 in conjunction with our attorney that we are using to make the in-person determinations. And so each IEP team has to make those determinations separately, unless parents say, no, thank you, we want to stay remote. We need to hold those meetings with each individual IEP team, excuse me.
So we're not necessarily having all 2,100 students back into school automatically?
No, to be clear, no. So again, each team makes those determinations. So, and obviously we cannot have all of our meetings done by October 5th. So it'll have to be, there will be students added as we go.
And if I may, can I ask one more question, Madam President? I'm wondering if before we move forward too far on this, if we should address some items in the packet related to this, specifically the memo from Mr. Donovan on substitute incentives and meeting our human capital needs. And then also I noticed that there's a bid from the Ockers company on some cameras in our packet. I think that's really, it seems relevant to this conversation.
I am not sure. The bid for the cameras is part of the finance committee that they had recommended go forward. And I'm not sure about the memo regarding substitute pay. I think that that's something that we ought to talk about in relation to this decision, as I don't think it came through finance. Is Mr. Donovan here?
Yeah, I think he should be here. Yeah, he's right there. I think also Dan can give some information on the Chromebooks as well.
Okay, Chromebooks are on order. I don't think they'll be here until November at the earliest. There's 3,500 that we ordered through the CARES Act. So that's the status of that. The question regarding the subpay, I put that together assuming a hybrid model and that we would need subs. And I thought a way that we could entice more substitutes to come would be to increase the pay. Now, the funds for those would be coming from, we would have far fewer regular subs, daily subs. So if you do the basic math, A times B equals C, with A being the number of subs and B being the rate and C being the total dollars, typically we have a very low B, a very low rate, but a high number of subs. Doing the math, if we had a much lower number of subs, we could have a much higher rate and therefore entice the subs. So that was the understanding. And I went back and looked last spring. We did save money on that line because we were fully remote. So therefore, there was savings on that line. So I guess it depends on the model. If you're going to be fully remote, I don't think you need many subs at all. There'll certainly be savings on that line. If you're going to go more hybrid, then you're probably going to need some subs, but we could afford a certain amount of them.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. If we want to increase subpay, which personally I think is a good idea, we would have to make a motion for that. And do we need to wait until, well, I suppose, do we need to wait until we start to go into hybrid, or is that a motion that we could put forward at any time between now and students returning to the classroom?
I would.
Well, I guess the sooner it's passed, the sooner the enticement becomes available to the subs.
I agree.
Ms. Brown?
I'd be happy to make that motion. I trust Mr. Donovan's expertise on the numbers, that this is a fiscally sound decision. We are regionally one of the lowest paying sub-districts, and we are all the time, but especially if we could at least incentivize this for now to the end of the school year, I think it would be really smart decision to get quality personnel in the building across the board, whether it's remote or in person. So I'd like to move that we accept the proposal put forth on September 10th by Dan Donovan to increase the current rate, daily rate of sub pay to a new rate of $115 per day. And to, I'm sorry, I should have probably written this at a time.
Oh, you're doing well. Doing good.
To move the grace period of 20 days between the long-term sub pay and the extended day down to 0 and start paying them the long-term sub pay at $175 from day one.
Seconded.
That was a lot of seconds, and I don't know who said it first.
I don't know either. I
So-
think it was maybe Miss Bishop.
And Bishop.
Miss Bishop was definitely loudest. So, okay.
Well,
So,
Never. That's not me.
all right, so the motion is to increase this.
Jessica, good job.
The motion is to increase substitute teacher pay to $110 a day and to eliminate the grace period for long-term subs so that they can make the $174 a day from day one, correct?
It's $115 per day.
Yes.
And then $175 per day.
Oh, all right. See, I'm glad I said it. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Please.
So $115 a day and $175 a day. Okay. Does anyone wish to discuss this further, or are we ready to vote? Ms. Johnson and Ms. Ziem after.
Thank you. Okay, so let me get this straight. We're starting off with $115 a day, and then we're gonna raise it to $174 a day. Is that what? Could you kind of repeat it then, and then I'll make,
It's two different classes of substitutes.
Okay.
Daily substitutes, which
okay,
were which Ms. Brown and Mr. Donovan have proposed
Okay.
increasing it to $115 a day.
okay,
Just for reference, Hudson's paying $110 a day.
okay,
And we're currently paying 67.
Yeah.
okay,
And then our long-term subs currently make, I think, $174 or $175 a day, but they have to wait a certain number of days before it goes from the lower pay and kicks into the higher pay. And so the motion is to eliminate that grace period and let them make that $175 from day one. It should be noted that long-term subs typically have to be certified for what they're teaching, whereas our daily subs do not. So I could be a daily sub, having no teacher certification, but I couldn't be a long-term sub.
okay. So on the long-term sub, is this going to be a permanent or is this going to be a temporary waiting period? Removal.
My suggestion is that these would both be temporary.
Okay, so what
Okay.
okay, thank you, Mr. Donovan. I mean to cut you off. I'd like to amend it and say that we would review it in 6 months. Because we don't know what's gonna happen between now and 6 months. Who knows, this might not be high enough. We might need to increase it, or in 6 months, we might want to decrease it because of the atmosphere has changed. So I would say review it in 6 months. This way it gives us, what is it, September, October, November, December, January, February, into March.
Second that. Okay. Ms. Ziem, you had your hand up. And then Ms. Bishop.
Oh, I'm mute. It's all right. I'm good.
Ms. Bishop? Oh, Ms. Bishop is waving it away as well. Okay. Anyone else? Seeing nobody. Mr. Guarino, can you call the roll on Ms. Johnson's amendment regarding reviewing this motion in 6 months?
I'm sorry, I maybe didn't press enter.
Oh,
but
sorry,
I would like to say, I understand what Ms. Johnson's doing, but we have had such a problem getting subs anyway in Nashua. I would like to extend it for the entire year. So I can't support the motion because it's been such a problem here in Nashua that I think our kids and our staff deserve to have that extra support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oden. Mr. Guarino, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Are you ready to call the roll on Ms. Johnson's motion?
Yes.
Or amendment, I'm sorry.
Right. So this is on the amendment to review it in 6 months. Did she say? Yeah, 6 months. Okay. Raymond Guarino votes no. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem. On the amendment. Ms. Ziem?
Ms. Ziem?
No.
Ms. Ziem votes no. Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Giglio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
No.
Gloria Timmons. Gloria?
Ms. Timmons, you're on mute.
No.
Okay. I have 4 noes, 5 yeses. The amendment carries. Now, you ready to take a roll on the motion with the amendment?
Yeah, I don't.
Unless
There it goes. I don't see any hands, so please go ahead.
Okay. On the amendment, which is, on the main motion with the amendment, which is to increase the rate of sub pay to 115 and the long-term pay to 175. Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Giglio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden. Ms. Oden,
Sorry, yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, going back to the main presentation that Dr. Mosley had made, I still had Ms. Johnson and Ms. Ziem on my list to speak, as well as Ms. Oden. Ms. Johnson, did you have questions or comments?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Ms. Begley, during a normal school year, you usually have, let's say, around 2,100 meetings. We're just going to throw this. Do you usually get through all those meetings with the parents for the IEPs and the 504 prior to school, or is this just an exception this year?
So my office does not handle the 504s. That's held at the individual buildings. That's a separate process. We do have all of our IEP meetings held throughout the year. They do not have to happen at the beginning of the year, unlike this year.
Okay, so I guess maybe Dr. Mosley can answer me on this, the 504s, but you would have it at the end of the year for the new school year. So this way, when they come into the school year, you're already set to go between the 504s and the IEPs. Am I correct?
For IEPs, they're written for 364 days. and they can be revisited at any time, but it's not, we used to have what we called IEP season, and that we would have all of our IEPs start at the beginning of the year and end at the end of the year. And we quickly realized how foolish that was. So now we do them throughout the school year. So we can have a new IEP start September 5th, or we could have a new IEP start March 16th.
That's the
Which
same for
makes sense.
504s too.
Okay.
That's the same for 504, Miss Johnson.
Okay, so you kind of scatter them throughout the year. So then this way it isn't a burden on everybody. Now, I guess 2 more questions I have. And I guess this kind of bothered me really from the beginning with the hybrid and the remote. You know, bringing the kids back slowly, but not bringing the kids back in the better weather. And then as the weather gets, you know, the flu season, more colds come in, more bringing the kids back now while you're still outside more. And then, but we're doing it kind of the opposite. And, you know, I guess I never really understood that, because the windows are wherever you can open up windows and all the fresh air is. But why did we kind of, you know, do it backwards?
I think I know what you're trying to get at, Miss Johnson, and please, I'm just gonna can I just paraphrase a little bit? You're asking, well, if in the nice weather, right? Why didn't you start school then? But in the cold weather, maybe have a break. Is that what I'm hearing?
More remote then, as
Yes.
the kids are getting sick, or the
Well,
teachers.
Miss Johnson, you must be in our admin meetings in the morning, because that's an excellent point. And really and this talks about the marathon. That's a discussion we're going to have if this is truly a marathon. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am dead wrong on this one. But if we find ourselves in this situation again, you are right. We may need to look at a creative way to open up schools potentially. Again, this is the public. This is Dr. Mosley speaking out loud, and don't quote me or anything. But maybe we do look at starting school a little earlier. Maybe we do look at outside classrooms. All of these things are nothing new, but in fact, what other communities are doing. In fact, I was looking, I think it's Amherst, Massachusetts. They actually have some outdoor classrooms that they're starting to explore for their elementary. In California, that's what they're exploring. But we just can't do that without the proper resources. And again, our school schedule for 110,000, that's an exaggeration. 150 years, I guess. I don't know. It's built on the concept of in May you get your hair cut and you work on the farm for the next 3 months. You bring in the harvest, and that's what you do. I don't think anyone in this room has worked on a farm. I could be wrong. Josh and Stephen, where are you? I don't see you, Steve. Steven's gone. All right. Oh, there you are. Sorry, Steve. You can quote me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember the last time. Not too many people have worked on a farm and brought in the harvest for the year and gone hunting in the fall and what have you. So our school schedule is built on kind of an agrarian schedule, and all of that is now changed. So Ms. Johnson, to your point, I think this is in conjunction with the union, in conjunction with our unions, to really think about what does our school schedule look like if we're still under the same circumstances. And you're right, Ms. Johnson, we are going to get more bang from our buck when the weather is nice and we can open the windows. Conversely, we're not going to get more bang for your buck when it's cold. You're absolutely correct. So these are discussions that in a district this size, we have to have them within the next month or two as we start to go down the road. Excellent point.
Well, I think a lot of it, and then I want to get on one other subject. I think part of it also is because, when winter comes, we never had COVID-19, but we get bad cases of the flu. And we never did remote learning because we never thought about remote learning. And how many times do we hear that kids come home, they're sick with the flu, teachers are real sick with the flu, we don't have enough teachers because everybody's sick with the flu. And you look at the South because they start earlier because the heat, and they end earlier because of the heat. And we build schools and we don't have windows anymore. So, the question becomes, I guess, with the new schools and the addition, are we putting windows in again that we can open? But one last point I want to make, I want to talk about the Chromebooks contract. I know I've emailed you, Dr. Mosley. I've asked Mr. Donovan, it was going to go to Mr. Rodriguez. I'd like to see the signature page on the Chromebooks. I want to see the contract, who's responsible for these Chromebooks if they come back damaged when we give them out to families. People might say, oh, she's at it again. It's a moot point. It isn't, because the taxpayers have to pay for this, whether it's in risk management and we're buying it. And it's a case of people have to be responsible when they're lent something. And it's a good lesson for children, for families, that this year our taxes might be going up 10%. Well, you know what? There's a lot of us who own homes that lost their jobs that they can't afford this, even themselves, to have to pay for something a second time around. And it shows that we're responsible elected officials, that we're watching to make sure that when we give something out, we get it back in the right condition. If there's an accident, a legitimate accident, no one's going to complain about it. But when there's misuse and some of what we saw, how it came back, you know, there's accountability and responsibility. So I'm going to ask again. I've seen the first page of it. I've seen the page with the students, what they're responsible on school, that the discipline, but we're outside of school right now. So I'm asking for that last page on accountability, who's signing for it and who's going to be held accountable for these Chromebooks. This isn't something that doesn't cost very much. And when we have to start replacing them, it starts costing us more money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Ziem is next. After Ms. Ziem speaks, I would like to remind everybody that even though I still have Ms. Oden and Mr. Norris in my list to speak, we have hit the 2-hour mark and policy BEA requires a vote to continue. So I'd like to let Ms. Ziem speak because she's been waiting so patiently, and then we'll take our vote and then we'll go back to the list.
No one's ever called me patient. Thank you very much. That was kind, if not true. I just wanted to say that to me, a lot of this meeting is to educate the public, the people who are listening out there, because we are so short-staffed. And I want you all to know that it's not because of the effort, because Dr. Mosley and the wonderful staff that we are fortunate to have, I'm always blessed. But I wanted to go back to Mrs. Bagley, because when she said that she has to have 2,100 meetings, because my daughter's child is in one of those classes, I had completely overlooked the fact that it's not just 2,100 meetings, but it's how many people have to be in every one of those 2,100 meetings. That I think the whole team, and I would just like for Mrs. Bagley to share that with the public so that they would know it's no easy task getting all those people to sit down 2,100 different times. I have to say that I have the greatest respect for Mrs. Bagley. We are so fortunate to have you. Please know you have my eternal, because my grandson's there. I know how hard you guys work, and I just can't thank you enough. But would you just share with the public so they would know?
Sure. Thank you, Mrs. Ziem. That's very kind of you to share those words too. It's been a rough few months in special ed with these new executive orders that were unexpected. So a properly constituted IEP team consists of the parents or guardians, a special educator, a regular ed teacher, any service providers that the student may receive. So it could be a speech pathologist, school psychologist, any specialized services, and what we call an LEA, which would be an administrator. It can also consist of an individual who's able to interpret evaluation results, if that's what the meeting purpose is to review evaluations, and anybody that the parent would like to have attend with them. And these meetings are all being held virtually at this time and will continue to be held virtually throughout the school year. So we're currently using Zoom, Google Meet, or conference calling for those meetings. And parents can choose to decline the meeting offer if they don't want to discuss the possibility of in-person services. If they've made the determination for their family and their student that they'd like to remain remote, they can decline the meeting offer.
So that's like 8 or 9 people even. Well, I mean, I just think it's amazing, 2,100 meetings with 9 people scheduled in 5 days, was it, or some crazy thing? But I just, my grandson brought his Chromebook home, and he was so proud of it. But of course, the first thing he did was drop it in the chair like it was a piece of toilet paper. And his mother went over the top because she knew I had already said to her, you better take care of that machine. So I employ all our parents, please watch your children because they don't realize how delicate that equipment is. And every one that we have to replace may be one that some child doesn't have because we are so short-handed on them. Money resources have always been a heartache in this district, and now it rears its ugly head more than ever before. So please, if you're hearing this tonight, please speak to your children and ensure that they take care of this precious equipment. That's all my hot air. Thank you.
Oh my, thank you so much, Mrs. Ziem. So I am looking for a motion under policy BEA to continue our meeting for a minimum of half an hour because I think that this is a discussion that is important and needs to be completed. And at that point, we can talk about the other 47 items on the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, so the motion to extend for half an hour is made by Ms. Bishop and seconded by Ms. Oden. Mr. Guarino?
Okay, on the motion to extend the meeting half an hour, Mr. Guarino votes no. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes. Sorry.
that's okay. Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Oh, wait, I'm on mute now. I did it backwards. I apologize. The next person on my list is Ms. Oden.
Okay, thank you. Probably the first week in September, we got, several of us got an email from a high school teacher in the CTE program saying that they were supposed to go back hybrid on September 14th, and that had been canceled. Can you explain to me why that was canceled, Dr. Mosley?
I'm not sure what teacher gave you this email, Miss Oden. I'm not sure where.
It was a CTE teacher. Several of them were concerned. They were supposed to go back on September 14th, they said, and it was canceled, and I was just wondering why.
But what discipline is that, Miss Odom? Is it?
It was all the CTE programs.
No, I guess I don't see the relevance of who asked the question or who let the board know
I do.
Of their concern. I guess my question is,
I do, because it
when will the
depends on the
CTE
program.
program start?
It actually depends on the program, because some of our programs, depending on the teacher, we're going to go in person. The other thing is that we also have sending students as well. So I need to know, because for instance, and Mr. Parker can kind of jump in here too. There were certain CTE classrooms that were going to remain online, and there's certain CTE classrooms that were going to start very, very slowly to have both some of our Nashua students and our sending students to come in person, but it wasn't going to be at full capacity. So I'm just not sure if you said to me, for instance, I'm just going to the top of my head, I think it's business administration. They were going to continue with remote, but I also think there was some the electronic program, they were also going to come in person, but we're not going to, enrollment in those programs were going to be very, very limited. So I'm not sure if it was the business administration teacher or the electronic teacher. So CTE is kind of a hybrid of in-person and remote.
I quite frankly, I think I heard from 3 different teachers, and I'm not sure what they taught, and I don't even remember their names at this point. But Were they scheduled to come back on September 14th and something changed?
Some of the teachers, so some of the programs were scheduled to come back in a very, very limited capacity in person. And some of our programs also had sending students coming in as well. So that is true. Depending on enrollment and depending on the PPE equipment and depending on, we had some of our sending kids coming from different communities that, for instance, that said that they didn't have to wear a mask. Well, they have to wear a mask if they're coming into our buildings. And that agreement was very important for us as we start to reopen the school. So it was a very limited program. Very limited classrooms that we allowed to have kids come in person. So what I can do to the board, just to kind of, so we get clarification throughout the entire board, is that I can give you a list of those classrooms, CTE classrooms that are able to support in-person enrollment on a low capacity, that with the proper PPE equipment and social distancing that we are looking to support.
Okay, so are you saying some did come back on September 14th?
I believe some did. I'm not sure which ones did, and some of them remain remote.
Okay, thank you. If you could get me that information, I'd appreciate it.
No problem.
Also,
Okay.
thank you. I got several emails in the last 24, 36 hours from high school teachers who are very concerned about the hybrid model, because at this point, they're seeing their students 55 minutes for 4 days a week. And according to the hybrid model that was set up, they're only going to see their students 55 minutes a week for that first period where 25% of the students come back. And the teacher said, I would rather go remotely and have the 55 minutes for 4 days a week with my students rather than to have 55 minutes for one day. So when you're looking at that, teachers are very concerned about the lack of time that they would have with their students at the high school level.
That is correct. They have shared that concern, and that's factoring into our discussions about how we proceed with hybrid.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Parker.
Yes. And can I just say, I need to say this,
Sure.
and we've talked about this in other circles, that hybrid is an interesting animal, and there is no perfect version of hybrid anywhere. And so all districts are struggling with this, some of the implications of hybrid. And so I just felt the need to say that, but we are aware of that concern. And so, and that's factoring into the discussions we're having at secondary and at the administrative level, central office. So we are aware of that concern and we've noted it.
Thank you. What I'm hearing from teachers is because of their experience being thrown into it last year, they had time over the summer to refine their practices and take webinars and learn more. And they feel a lot more confident with remote learning now. And they said having a fixed schedule where kids have to attend class according to the schedule they'd have in school has made a big difference for them. So they've made great adjustments for that. Let me ask, we got an email from Ms. Baldwin from the Adult Learning Center. Are we going to have any type of a setup in schools where when we go back to a hybrid that we might be able to have some support for those kids whose parents are working when they're doing their work?
Yes, I think this came up at the last meeting that Ms. Baldwin, and we said we would work in partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, and I forget the last organization. So, and I believe that there's already a form of and I think I was either talking to Dr. McKinney or someone that they're already some of these after school programs are already active right now. So I think that's what it is. That's actually going on right now too, even though we're still remote. I also, certainly when we start to, if I was to now that we know what we know now, certainly there are parents who are also, we recognize that there are facilities that they have in these childcare programs that allow our kids to access the remote learning in that environment as well. I don't know to what extent the supervision is, but certainly we're not working in we are working in partnership with them, but we also have kids who are currently just like at the YMCA or daycare centers that are also participating remotely. Is that fair enough, Dr. McKinney? I don't know if I don't want to misquote you.
So the question was around before and after school daycare and support.
Yep.
So we do have conversations going with community partners. When and if we do go hybrid, there will be a challenge with space. So we may have to do some creative problem solving. But we do have supports out there for working parents. And I would hope, and I've asked that teachers be flexible and understanding with kids and families in being turning in assignments, being on Zoom calls, managing multiple students with one device. All those things play a part in remote learning.
Okay, thank you. And as long as you're there, Dr. McKinney, I know Dr. Mosley had said there are issues at the elementary level with the UA teachers. What's the issue?
I said challenge.
Challenge. Okay. What's the challenge?
There's issues everywhere, Ms. Odom. There's issues. It all depends on the level of issues.
A challenge is an issue.
I think some of the unified arts lend themselves better in person than they do remotely. Music, art, library book exchange, challenging in doing what they do remotely, platforms, resources, library book exchange, band, instrumental music lessons. I would say those are some of the challenges, but I continue to meet with the UA coordinators. We have a meeting with the union next week. We're working to acquire take-home kits for art and music. So we're trying to be supportive, but there's not a full-time UA teacher at every school. The traveling component, number of classes that they teach and service. Those are all some of the issues that have been brought to my attention.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. While you said that, you reminded me on the Boston station, and again on New Hampshire station, I saw where the music teacher, Caitlin, I forgot her last name, made 263 take-home kits for the music program at Amherst Street. So do you remember her last name? Katie? Oh,
starts with a B. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but yes.
But congratulations.
Rock
to
on.
her.
We can get you one too if you want to play along with us. So no problem.
That's okay. Thank you. And my last comment is, I did see the quote on the cameras, and it looks like it's going through a third party. Am I correct in that, Mr. Donovan?
What was that again?
It looks like the bid on the cameras is going through a third party. I don't know if it's a bid, but the price, there was a third party out of Brockton, Mass, I believe, that was the third party involved in it.
Yes, I'm actually, no, I wasn't involved with that. That was something Greg put together. I saw it in the package. Prior to the package, I don't have a knowledge of that.
Okay. Are we going to get bids on that to get different prices on?
Yeah, I mean, if we were to order all those cameras, then I would assume we would get bids for sure.
Because it was expensive.
Yes, it was a lot of money.
Okay.
So that's something that needs to go to finance in order to have you guys vet it appropriately.
I would say so.
Ms. Odom, if you don't mind me asking, is there a question that perhaps that you have that perhaps I can answer, or we can get an answer for you in email? Are you asking if we did 3 bids?
Well, yeah, I just wouldn't want to see one price because it was awfully expensive.
Okay, let's.
Thank you. I'm done. Thank you. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. Mr. Norris, did you wish to speak? No, Mr. Norris is waving me away. Okay. I have a couple of questions that have popped up for me as people were talking. And I guess going backwards, regarding the CTE hybrid timeline, I guess I'm curious about how this works in with the hybrid plan that we approved in August that had specific times for returning to school. And then now kind of your new proposal, because I had intended to ask for a motion regarding approving your new rollout and tying it to staffing and epidemiology and PPE availability. But I'm wondering how CTE plays in all of that and if I need to add CTE to that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Raymond.
That was complicated, I know, sorry.
No, I would say that CTE is a little bit of a wild card only because we do have sending students from other communities. For example, we have sending students from Brookline Hollis, sending students from Hudson, and it depending on the program in the CTE, some of the programs are very, very limited in person. And so we were trying to, and I say, Ms. Raymond, accommodate all of our plans coupled with our sending district plans as well. And so I wish I could tell you this is a general overview, but at the same time we're still trying to work that out. I see Mr. Parker's hand is up, and certainly he's been getting to know the district and CTE, and so he can probably give you a little bit more info than I can.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Parker.
Hi, I'm meeting with the CTE at 7:30 in the morning. So first thing, you know, we are doing our best to take care of our sending students. We just had a big meeting today where we're extending the start time. It's within the contractual day to accommodate them so they can attend first block. So from 9 o'clock to 7:30. That happened today. And I, in fact, alerted the commissioner that we would be doing that because he inquired about it. And so I can have, we're moving forward. Okay, we're trying to make it work. It's not ideal. But the department's digging in and they're coming up with ideas about how to make this the most optimal experience. And I can get more details for you tomorrow after I meet with them, because that is part of the agenda.
Ms. Raymond, if it's, I guess rather than what I can do is like by the end of the week, I can put in writings, or we'll put in writings a memo, just kind of giving you some updates on that. To be honest with you, it's very, it's fluid in a way where we're trying to, and we've had kids who have said they can't come in. They have kids. As I said earlier, I think I said it publicly, but it's like kind of like building a house on a sliding mud hill at times, and it's forever changing. But certainly, it's a very valid point that you bring up, and we'll certainly provide the board with some clarity on that.
Okay. So I guess I would suggest then that we have a motion, something along the lines of moving to have Nashua administration work with our sending and receiving school districts to establish a hybrid plan for CTE classes that meets our requirements and theirs.
Sure, absolutely.
Is that something fair that anyone would want to make that motion?
Please.
I'll second it.
I was going to say crickets. I'll make the motion. Seconded by Ms. Oden. Okay, does anyone want to discuss the motion? No one wants to discuss the motion. All right. Mr. Guarino, can we vote on it?
Sure. Could you repeat the motion again?
Sure. I kind of threw it out there. I move to have administration work with our sending and receiving school districts to establish a hybrid plan for CTE classes that meets Nashua's requirements and those other districts' requirements.
Okay.
And then obviously, if admin needs us to modify that motion at some point, or if it works out terribly in the next 2 weeks, let us know and we'll
Okay.
make a new motion.
I hope it doesn't.
Okay. On the motion, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Oh, great. Okay, more housekeeping stuff. As we've gone through the presentation and our discussions, I've been kind of comparing that to prior motions to make sure that we are following motions and making changes as they become appropriate and necessary. So I have a few things that I think we need motions for. I have 3. The first one is a motion to modify the hybrid learning plan to make return to school dependent on staffing, epidemiology, and PPE availability.
That's good.
Okay, I'll make the motion. Anyone want to second it?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Does there need to be a contingency on equipment as well?
That's what PPE is.
No, like the Chromebooks and stuff like that
Oh, I don't
that I
know.
was asking about.
Can you read that motion again, please, Heather?
Yep. I said a motion to modify the hybrid learning plan to make return to school dependent on staffing, epidemiology, and PPE availability. The prior motion that we had approved back in August only made it dependent on epidemiology. So based on the prior motion, staffing and PPE was not part of our decision-making criteria for returning to school.
And that was seconded by Ms. Bishop.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
So under the current motion from August, when we return in hybrid, just is based on what the epidemiologist has. And I'm adding. You know, I don't know about Chromebooks because I think that's more of a remote learning concern than an in-person learning concern. And also they won't be available till November and I don't know how to fix that.
No one does.
I know the United Way has a program. Katie's Closet is working on a program, but I don't know when those will be available to people in need either. I think everyone's trying to come together, but they're just not available. So any other comments or questions?
I have a question.
Okay, and then Ms. Brown again after you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. So we're making this contingent. Could you just read the motion again, please?
Sure. The motion is to modify the hybrid learning plan, I'll add, that we approved in August, to make return to school dependent on staffing, epidemiology, and PPE availability.
Well, if we don't have the staff, we can't return the kids to school. I mean, that's just a no-brainer, you know.
Right, same thing with, and I'd like to throw PPE in there too. If we don't have appropriate PPE, I just don't want to be like, well, too bad, we're going to send everybody back and that's parents' problems. That makes me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I guess I have a problem with this somewhere because, you know, I was hoping that that schools would open and, you know, these kids really need to be back in these classrooms. They need this social interaction. You know, I speak to parents all the time where I work, and it's just a shame. You know, they're going out buying clothing for kids for school and, you know, just sit in remote. And I don't know. I'm just on the fence on this, really. So, thank you.
Ms. Brown?
Yeah, I'm a little conflicted on this as well. I feel like we're putting so many stipulations in here that it's going to make it really difficult to open it all. I think these are all important and they're part of the plan that is necessary. And then the things that we need to troubleshoot as they arise based on our timeline. I guess I don't know, I'm having a hard time articulating exactly what I want to say, but I do have a question. What's our drop dead date to follow our original plan to get the information out to teachers and families if we were to modify it in any way?
I plan on getting, as soon as this all goes through, honestly, by the end of the week, what I'm going to do is draft a letter, just kind of outlining everything that came about today. To summarize it before sending it out, I'll send it to the board, so they just kind of know what to expect. We've covered a lot tonight, and I know people probably have more questions. But the timeline, in my opinion, Mrs. Brown, to your point, is by the end of the week.
Thank you, Dr. Mosley. I think it's a well-worded motion, but I don't think I can support it because I think we need to really be gathering our efforts to get the kids back in school. I think we've got surrounding districts and even private schools in this area who are seeing a lot of success. We're doing great with our sports programs, the kids and the teachers. Like, I think the kids even seem to recognize the importance of following the rules and the guidance that's going to get them back in the right positions to get into the classroom with their families, with their friends. So I just don't think I can support this at this time. And especially with the drawn out schedule, I do think it's really important to get the special ed students in there. I think it's really important that I think there are some room for modifications, like maybe we want to consider an alternative plan, getting elementary kids in first and middle second, and then high school third. I don't know, that's just an option. But to hold up the whole district, I'm all the way until November 1st for just the first graders. At that point, we might as well just stay closed for the whole semester because we're practically at Thanksgiving and then Christmas. So I'm not going to support this.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. I'm still on mute. No, I'm not. Thank you, Ms. Brown. I appreciate your thoughts. And Ms. Bishop, and then Ms. Giglio. Regarding on opening and timelines, that would be the next motion. I have two more motions written down that based on our conversations.
Thanks, Heather. So my question was, and I had kind of posed this earlier, the staffing shortages that we have in regards to teachers who are able to remotely work from home but not able to go into the classroom. I hope at some point we can explore the opportunity of having them teach from their remote placement to students who are in the classroom. So they're not exposed, to making their, not their comorbidities, sorry, that's work, making their pre-existing conditions a concern for them. If they can work from home, we can have students in the classroom appropriately distanced with maybe not certified teachers in the classroom, but just somebody who can make sure that the kids stay on task. I think that there is a way that we can get students into the classroom and meet the teachers' needs. I just think we need to be creative with it. And I don't know if the numbers are there for it. I know one of the things that we talked about was the teachers who teach a more specialized subject, who we wouldn't necessarily have a substitute certified for. If those teachers are able to teach remotely and have the students in the school somehow and supervised, and then everybody's needs are met, but it's a creative way. And I know that, we can, there's a way of doing everything. I think that we haven't explored every opportunity yet. And I don't know what the numbers show about how many students' needs would be met with a remote teacher being like projected up onto a screen in the classroom. I mean, they're doing it from home anyway. We're just kind of corralling the kids together. Not necessarily a question. It was something to explore. I'm kind of like what Ms. Brown is saying is I'm seeing and hearing other districts that are able to accommodate that. So I don't want to miss an opportunity. That's kind of why I was being kind of bearing down on what the bandwidth was like, what the equipment was, where we stood on those levels, so that we have the ability to be more creative, because obviously when we have the correct tools, we have more opportunity for success. I mean, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bishop. Ms. Giglio?
Yeah, I am in support of this motion for a lot of reasons. Number one, I like what it's going to do for the special ed students and the needs that they have right now. No one loves school more than I do. I spent maybe 60 years in school and I feel like I'm still there. And I think it would be wonderful if we could get everyone back. And I was very optimistic about the October 5th date for the elementary students. And I agree with Ms. Bishop that there's a lot of other exploration we can do. But to be truthful, October 5th is coming very quickly. And I don't think we have time to, I think we need to act. We can always make changes as things go ahead and we see other opportunities to improve on what we're doing. But I don't think we have time to just sit back and do that right now. I think we've got to make a decision. Families need to know, teachers need to know. So I am fully in support of the motion. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Giglio. Did anyone else want to speak on this motion? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Guarino, could you please take the roll? And again, this is the motion to modify the hybrid learning plan to make return to school dependent on staffing, epidemiology, and PPE availability.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
No.
Sandra Ziem, that was a yes.
We may have lost her. She's on mute.
I thought I heard.
Oh, now she's off. There she goes. Yes.
The video back. My vote is yes.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you, Ms. Ziem.
Thank you. Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Giglio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
No.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons,
Ms. Timmons, I can't hear you.
Because I'm not on mute.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. I have 7 yeses, 2 nos, motion carries 7-2.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I'd like to have a motion to approve the timeline presented this evening for beginning hybrid schooling on a staggered basis by needs and grade level.
Repeat, please.
Yep. I'd like to make a motion to approve the timeline presented this evening by Dr. Mosley that begins hybrid schooling on a staggered basis by needs and grade level.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Does anyone need to discuss this? I think we kind of did it with the last motion. Anything else? I don't see any hands. Mr. Guarino?
On the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Giglio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
No.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
I have 8 yeses, 1 no, motion carries 8-1.
Right. And the last motion I have is a motion to approve the updates to the remote learning handbook that is currently on our website and that was in our packet for this week.
So moved.
So as of today's date, 9/16/2020.
So moved.
I second. I second.
So that was. So just for people who haven't had a chance to look at it, the highlights that I took away from the updates were on the secondary level at the middle school. Instead of changing classes by week, it's now like an A day and a B day. And then there were quite a few changes in the small changes in teacher expectations and family expectations regarding you can't record people without their permission. So no recording Zoom sessions. And attendance is based on actually completing some work. Dr. Mosley or Mr. Parker, do you have other highlights that you think need to be discussed before we take a vote?
I think this is the point 2.0. I would say that we're probably going to have more revisions as we're going to be meeting with the union next week, and I know Mr. Parker is going to be meeting with the middle school people as well. So just understand this will be back at the boards probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks ish. Go ahead, Mr. Parker.
Yes, I met with the union today, and there's 2 other slight changes to that. I think the changes there are pretty straightforward. There are 2 minor changes, so will be coming that I will submit to the superintendent tomorrow. I met with the union this afternoon just to go over 2 minor things, and then I think for the time being we should be good.
Thank you. I really appreciate the work that, Dr. McKinney.
I would just echo the superintendent's comments and ask for the board's support in supporting and clarifying and communicating that Friday is a day of instruction. It's a school day. It counts for instructional hours. It counts towards the number of minutes and hours across the district to be in compliance with state guidelines. So while there's been some confusion with that, I've been a classroom teachers, fun Fridays, field trips, things like that are certainly acceptable, but it does count as a day of learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McKinney. I really appreciate the work that staff and admin have been doing to kind of grow and learn as we go through this process of remote learning. We learned some things from the spring and had some updates, for the fall, and now even 2 weeks in, we've learned some things and you're, making changes. I just want to make sure that because we approved the original handbook, we need to approve changes so that they can then be enacted in the classroom. So I want to make sure that the board is being as responsive as quickly as you need us to approve updates to the handbook that change the way our teachers go about their daily business of educating our kids. So that's kind of the purpose of this motion. And I am more than happy to continue to approve updates as you bring them, or argue with you about them if, we think they're terrible. Ms. Ziem?
Dr. McKinney's remarks about the Fridays, we received a particularly compelling email from one of actually it was reflective, I believe, of the counselors. And they felt that we have fell behind. We did lose, in my view. I believe we also lost some learning last year because of the pandemic. I mean, it's only natural that we would. Having said that, their thought was that we could use Friday for online learning while all these other things were going on as well. Are we saying that you and Dr. Mosley and Dr. Parker, you pretty much agree that that would be too much? Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
What level was the counselor speaking to?
Basically, they were saying that they felt that that because we had fallen behind, that Friday could be used for online learning while a lot of these other things were going on as well. And at least if I understood it, that's what they were saying correctly. And it just sounded to me like there is a feeling in the district. And again, Dr. Mosley could be right. I mean, is that 1 or 10 people? Who knows? In a population the size of ours, unless you hear from every one of them, you have no idea or percentage. But it made sense to me that we had fallen behind, and that if this was a way that we could go forward and catch up some of that behind, then it might be worthwhile. At the same time, if the three of you are in agreement that it's that it's an overload, then I have to respect the three of you. I do respect the three of you. I feel we're very lucky to have the three of you, and so I certainly don't want to cause a problem that isn't a problem. But if you, I just like you're telling me that the three of you are pretty much in agreement that it's too much.
I'll just I'll restate what I said earlier. Friday's a day of instruction. Kids should be working online. You know, everybody's behind. It's a pandemic. It's not fair. I understand. And people are struggling, hearing information, processing it. Fridays can look fun. It can be games. It doesn't have to be Zoom fatigue all day long. But it's a day of learning. It counts as a school day. People are getting compensated for the day, and it counts for the instructional minutes towards the day. So it may not be a typical school day like 9 to 3 at the elementary level, but learning is happening. So I do agree that it's a day of remote learning. The buildings are being cleaned, and it counts on the clock.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Parker, do you want to speak to the secondary?
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. You know, the high school level, the middle school level, you know, when the principals are in agreement about what they think after touching base with their teachers about what's in the best interest of kids to get more bang for the buck. For instance, the middle school schedule going from A to B, you know, instead of waiting a week, you know, that was from consensus from people going to their principals coming to me. We think this is in the best interest of kids during this time. Okay. And so Fridays, online makeup work, you know, guidance counselors working with kids, delivering their curriculum, you know, advisories. And so it's not just a free day to play. And I don't know how it got out there, but in a pandemic, you know, you can always control the narrative, because once you release it, people will interpret it however they will. And so I echo what Garth has said. In the secondary, what we have put forward, we believe is in the best interest of kids and can actually maximize their learning.
Please know that I appreciate it as much for the people listening as it is for me. It has gotten out there, and I hope that the rest of the district will respect the three of you as much as I do, and take the wisdom in your words. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deem, Dr. McKinney, and Mr. Parker. As a parent, I can just share that my elementary school daughter's teacher has a schedule for the week, and Friday is on it, and she does math and reading and social studies, and she has a unified arts class on Fridays, just like every other day of the week. Middle school's been a little bit different, but we've only had one Friday so far. So my son's had a couple of assignments, but I didn't really expect much week one. So we'll let him get in there for a couple weeks before we really start expecting some assignments. And believe me, I will be back to bother Mr. Parker if I feel like he's not getting enough work.
Thank you, Heather.
So yeah, I'm annoying moms. Okay, so the motion was to approve the updates to the remote learning handbook dated today, 9/16/2020. Did anybody else have any other questions or comments on that motion? Okay, Mr. Guarino.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
No.
and Gloria Tibbins. Gloria?
I said yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, motion carries 8-1.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Guarino. Looking at the time, it's been like an hour since we voted to extend it for half an hour because I'm not good at looking at the time. So I apologize to everyone. That's my mistake. It's also 20 of 10. And I feel like we haven't even started our regular agenda. So I guess I'd like some feedback from board members about shall we go to 10 o'clock, give the student members a chance to say their piece, perhaps put HR in. Miss Timmons had her hand up. I don't see anybody else having their hand up.
Yes, I don't want to be partial to my committee, but we need to push through the personnel, HR committee, personnel recommendation.
I agree, because we want those people hired and able to start right away. We just had a whole presentation on our staffing needs, so I concur. Ms. Brown?
I was going to say, I think most of at least the committee meeting stuff has been vetted through the committees. So I'm feeling like we could probably vote on them pretty quick if we have the motions prepared.
Okay. Ms. Johnson? Oh, Ms. Johnson, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I'd like to make a motion to take like a 5-minute break.
Okay, let's do that. Let's take a 5-minute break. And then we will come back and decide on how long we want to continue. As of now, 9:41 p.m. It is 9:50 p.m. and we are back. I believe that Ms. Brown was going to make a motion that we power through our agenda.
I make a motion to power through our agenda.
Second.
I thought you'd word it more elegantly than that, but I'll second it. Okay. Is Mr. Guarino here?
I am.
Okay, Mr. Guarino, can you take the roll?
Okay. On the motion, Raymond Guarino votes no. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Okay. So we're just have completed the recognition presentation portion of our agenda. So the next item is the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they wish to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, then I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Guarino?
Okay. On the motion to approve the consent agenda, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay, excellent. We have no items removed. We have no communications outside the consent agenda that I'm aware of. Anyone else? Okay, nothing. I'm sorry, Dr. Mosley, it's really late for me. Dr. Mosley, do you have any comments this evening?
Now, the only thing I'm just going to ask the board is that we have an early admin meeting, and I do have to release people because they just have to be there. So if you don't need the assistant superintendents, and honestly, I like Tara too. If I just feel like we just have an early morning. And so, and Dana, you can leave too. I just need them to be fresh for the morning because we got a heavy agenda as well. So if it's okay with the board, I'm just going to ask them to leave and, I'll be here.
I think that's perfectly reasonable, and I appreciate your willingness to stay, Dr. Mosley. If Ms. Kinsella wants to transfer the meeting to me, I'm happy to end it when we end. And I would suggest to people that if they have questions on items coming up under each of the committees, that we motion to table. They abstain from voting until they get a chance to and go watch the video, or that they email the admin person so that we can kind of move forward and not keep people here. Any objections?
No. And Heather, could I also offer the option to bow out for the student representatives?
Yes, I wanted to ask them if they had anything to say before I asked them if they wanted to leave. So, admin, I think that is a farewell and enjoy the rest of your evening, and I hope you sleep sometime. And then Mr. Norris and Mr. Gao.
I have one comment, if that's all right.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'll spare the comments on the rest of the agenda, but I don't know who this suggestion would go to, but during athletics, we've been wearing masks, which I'm totally on board for. I think it's a necessary precaution we have to take. But running in a regular mask can sometimes be kind of excruciating. So I know there's masks out there for athletics specifically. Some people I know have them and they're able to run many miles with them and with ease. So I was wondering if maybe that would go to finance and operations, if we could look into getting one of these masks for each student, because I know looking at it myself, I've had a hard time finding them online. They're all sold out. So I don't know if this school district would have a better way of finding them, but it would help. Thank you.
Great. Dr. Mosley, could you?
Sure. I think we can always explore the cost of masks. I think that conversation starts with Lisa Gingras. And it's not just in, I don't know what sport you're making reference to, Steve, but it's also for all of our athletics as well. And that includes the middle school as well. And given that, we're not halfway through the fall, but our athletics has started already. And to your point, it's hard to find those masks now, but certainly we'll try to, we'll explore the cost and see if it's feasible to do. But I think I'll let Lisa Gingras know and we can have that discussion there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mosley. I will say kudos to all the athletes. My son does track over at Elm Street, and so I walk out Mine Falls very slowly. And I see all the athletes going by me multiple times with their masks on. So kudos to all of them. So, Mr. Gao?
Yeah, I just want to say something really quickly. Like this is kind of like generic, I guess, but again, like really thank you so much to all the teachers. Like I really don't know how to say this, to be honest. Like there's just so many things that the teachers have been doing. I know, like, for example, like today, one of my teachers lost their entire Google Classroom. So, she was putting in extra time, like still having classes with us, still spending time with us. My guidance counselor, she's like putting together all this like college stuff to help me out and everything. It's just like so many people have really been putting like way more than, is in their job description to help us students out. And I think for those teachers who are unsure whether they're doing enough or unsure whether they're providing adequate, like, I guess, education, I just want to say, like, as from students, like we understand, like we're in a pandemic and we totally get it. We can see that you're already putting in so much effort. So thank you so much for that. That's
Nice.
pretty much it.
That's lovely. Thank you, Mr. Gao. Okay. Now, y'all are welcome to stay as long as you like or leave whenever. I'll let your parents be the deciders of that. Okay. So moving on. We don't have a committee on budget. Committee on finance, Ms. Oden.
Okay, we'll make this quick. I move to approve the request to waive the parking fees for the high school students for semester 1 of the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
I heard Miss Gilio first for the second there, but there was a chorus. Mr. Guarino, when you're ready.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Move to accept the quarterly credit card report.
Second. So that was seconded by me, Mr. Guarino.
Yep, okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Move to accept the donation from Nationwide for 240 gallons of microcide, 740 quarts of hand spray, 250 infrared thermometers, and 4,000 N95 face masks.
I'll second it.
Okay,
They are, that's one of the companies we work with, and they were generous in their donations to us.
Yes.
Thank you to
Thank you very
Nationwide.
much.
okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
A grateful yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Move to accept the fiscal year 21 August transfer report.
Second. Mr. Guarino.
Okay, on the motion to accept the transfer report, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. That's it for tonight.
All right, excellent. Committee on Policy, Ms. Bishop, I know that there was a policy on suicide in our packet, or suicide prevention, excuse me, but it didn't make it to the agenda. Is that policy something that you need voted on this evening?
No, that wasn't one that we reviewed. We started discussing a policy for PPE for staff, which we didn't feel that we had enough bulk to go on yet. So we brought it back to administration to kind of tease out some things. So I have nothing to present to vote on tonight because we need to gather more information.
Okay, and I will put that aside till next time.
Thank you.
Ms. Brown, the Committee on Curriculum and Evaluation.
Thank you. So we had several good committees, and we actually have almost 2 months worth of stuff to approve, so I'll get to it. I move to approve a 1-year subscription of Capstone Pebble Go funding from the Title IV grant.
Second. Okay, Mr. Guarino.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
All right. Next, I move to approve a 1-year subscription of A to Z RAS Kids for use by all elementary school teachers. The funds will be coming from the curriculum budget.
Seconded.
Do you know how much that is, Miss Brown?
I don't have, there was a document in our huge packet. I'll have to bring it up.
Okay.
I think
don't
that was,
worry.
I want to say that was that around 36, Dr. McKinney? What is it?
I think it's 32.5.
32.5.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions?
That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Guarino?
On the motion, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons. Motion carries 9-0.
All right, so next I move to approve a one-year subscription of the Lucy Calkins Units of Study virtual teaching resources for use by elementary and middle school teachers. The funds will come from the curriculum budget.
Seconded.
Okay, I have the same question, Jessica. Do you know how much that is? Or Miss Dr. McKinney?
Do you know that you knew that was coming, right?
Yep.
So I misspoke earlier. The 32.5 is for Zern. I will. I'm looking up the exact cost for Lucy and RAS Kids, so I can provide that to you.
Is it in our packets?
Might have been in the curriculum packet. I don't know if it's in this presentation packet.
Okay.
It definitely was in the curriculum packet, which I don't have the whole packet right here in front of me.
Okay. All right. So does anyone feel that we need to table this, or should we go ahead and vote on it without the exact figure?
Well, we need it.
Yeah,
we need, no matter what they cost, we need them.
I mean, the costs typically are in the motion so that Mr. Donovan can move funds around appropriately.
We're already doing Zern. I know that for a fact. So we need to approve it.
I have it. Hold on. This is for the Zern?
Yeah.
No, this was for the Lucy Calkins.
The Lucy Calkins. Okay. Hold on. I saw it earlier. It's right here. Hold on. If you can see my video, you can see how hard I'm getting old. I can't see it anymore. So the Learning A to Z, then it's the next one after that, right?
Oh, we need that one too.
Yeah.
So the
Do you
Lucy
mind going into?
Calkins
Yeah.
is,
Can we come back to that one?
It looks like it's around page
Do you mind moving ahead to
31
Zern and coming back to the other two? And I'll give you the numbers.
So yeah, can we table that?
Yes,
just
take it out of
momentarily?
order.
All
But I
right.
think Jen
Yeah.
just had it.
Oh,
I have the Learning A to Z right in front of me if you want it.
Okay.
So that's your total cost is, the final cost for 1 year is $25,025.32. And if you want to add two, it goes up each year. But there are discounts with each year.
Okay.
So if we're only approving 1 year, then it's the $25,025.32.
Okay, great. Since we just approved that, we'll add that in the minutes to the motion. No, Dr. McKinney?
So the quote that's in that packet was a quote that only provided limited access for teachers on books and online books. So the quote that would be processed for Learning A to Z or RAS Kids is $46,510.80.
Okay, so let the minutes reflect that the subscription for Learning A to Z RAS Kids, the actual cost is $46,510.80, not the $32,500 that was in the original motion. Okay, would anyone like to change their vote? No one has indicated that they would like to change their vote. So vote stands. Are we waiting on Lucy Calkins for you to get back to us on that number?
Lucy Calkins is $28,300 even.
$28,300 even. Okay. And just catch me up because I lost track. Ms. Brown made a motion on Lucy Calkins already.
So yes, so the motion on the floor is approving a 1-year subscription of Lucy Calkins Units of Study virtual teaching resources for use by elementary and middle school teachers. The funds will come from the curriculum budget in the amount of $28,300.
Okay. And that was seconded by Ms. Johnson. Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Guarino.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zee,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. So let's see. The next item is a recommendation to approve the Zern supplemental curriculum for the 2020-21 school year.
So moved.
In the amount of
32,500.
Of $32,500.
okay.
So moved.
Vince has seconded it. Mr. Guarino.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zee,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
All right. Next, we move to accept the grant for science resources from the Nashua Educational Foundation in the amount of $14,401.04.
So moved. So moved. I mean, seconded. Sorry.
Ms. Timmons was there a little bit before you, Ms. Bishop.
That's fine.
But I think that reflects our gratitude to the Nashua Education Foundation for this and all that they do for our students. They're one of our biggest supporters. So, Mr. Guarino?
On the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zee,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay. So, Ms. Brown, your next item is a strange one because ordinarily it would just go directly to the policy committee.
Correct. So this one, it's kind of a dual action. There's comes part of the curriculum that's set forth by the state, but we also have to have a policy in place. We kind of need to work in tandem to get this one accomplished. But we definitely need to update our policy, and there is going to be some professional development for teachers because we're going to have to be providing at least 2 hours of professional development on suicide prevention and education in schools.
So your motion is to have the policy committee review
the policy portion of the item, but I think then it's probably in some fashion going to come back to us also, but we definitely need to update our policy. And we have some good information from our state board association on that we can help with.
Okay. So again, I don't think you need a motion to do it. I think you just send it over to Ms. Bishop and she takes it, but we can vote if you'd like to.
All right, fine. Ms. Bishop, do you accept my application for a suicide prevention education program?
You can't tell me what to do. Just kidding. Yes. I think it's probably an important policy to review anyway, given the mental health crises that are going on with this pandemic right now. So whether or not it was being attached to something, Miss Brown's doing. It's a good thing to address anyway, so I will happily put that on the next agenda.
Thank you. And also, I didn't formally thank the Nashua Education Foundation for that contribution. We're very grateful for that.
Okay. I saw Mr. Parker had his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I was just handed a document about suicide prevention. And so that along with the PPE document that we're working on. So I guess I'll be in contact with one of you about that, about how one can impact the other. So just a few days ago, Ms. Kinsella handed me a policy about suicide. And so that's on the docket to be worked on. So
good.
We can chat.
Excellent. And Jess, you can come to our meeting if you want.
Awesome.
Okay, great. But not 6. You can't have 5 people. You can have 4 people, but you can't have 5 because then it's a meeting of the whole. So you have to draw straws.
Okay.
Okay.
She can come and express her feelings and not
I'm just saying, Ms. Brown can come, but not her whole entire committee.
That's
okay.
fine.
Moving forward. Anything else, Ms. Brown?
Nope, that's a wrap. Thank you.
Okay, great. Ms. Timmons, Committee on Human Resources.
Yes, I'd like to suspend the rules as we met earlier this evening.
Yes, I second that.
Okay.
Mr. Guarino?
Okay, on the motion to suspend the rules, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
I move to approve the revised personnel recommendation dated today's date, which is, I forgot already because it's almost the next day, September the 16th, 2020.
I'll second that. Mr. Guarino?
Okay, on the motion to approve the revised personnel recommendations, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay. Anything else tonight, Ms. Timmons?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Under unfinished business, we talked about the remote learning handbook. We kind of incorporated it into Dr. Mosley's presentation in our discussion. Under new business, we have a donation to the Nashua North football program. Hang on, I just want to bring up the actual paper. Which I closed accidentally. So if anybody has it in front of them, I would really appreciate them making a motion to accept it.
I would like to move to accept it, but I don't have it in front of me. I can't seem to find it.
I have it.
Oh,
I
great.
found
So
it.
it's-
Go ahead,
So-
Ms. Bishop.
Do you want me to make the motion?
Sure. go
Because I
ahead.
have it right in front of me. Okay. So I move to accept the anonymous donation to Nashua North football program.
And the amount.
The items that will be purchased, so hold on. Would like to donate $5,000 and the company will match the total donation to $10,000. The $10,000 will cover, is that a Hood video system, which is used for instruction as well as college recruiting. That's $3,500. The football field equipment, including chutes, is between $2,000 and $2,500. And the new practice jersey and pants are between $3,000 and $4,000. So it's a total of $10,000 anonymous donation, which we are very grateful for.
I will second.
Supporter of our football.
Okay.
When you're ready,
On the
Mr. Guarino.
motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Lottie Oden,
Grateful, yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay. The last item on our agenda this evening is the approval of a safety memorandum of understanding. Yeah, I would ask, this was included in our packet, and I would ask that we go ahead and vote on it unless members of the board feel that they need a non-public to discuss it.
No, I'm talking about the request for change of assignment. Did we do that?
Yes, that was the very first thing we did that took
Okay.
the
Okay.
non-public.
I'm just.
Yep, we do need to meet again on that, but I will ask Kinsella to give us a time next week.
Okay.
Because I don't think any of us have it in our brains to compare the statute right now. It's a little too much. So I move that we approve the safety memorandum of understanding that is confidential and was in our packets this evening.
Second.
Okay.
I'd like to ask a question here.
Okay, Ms. Johnson?
Somehow I didn't get this. I missed printing it somewhere in my packet, so I did not read it.
Would you like us to table this until the next meeting?
If the board wouldn't mind, and then maybe resend it out, because for some reason I just didn't get it.
Yes, I think it's important that we all understand before we vote.
It wasn't a separate packet, and that's probably why you're not seeing it, Ms. Johnson. We separated things by things that were public and things that were non-public.
Probably somewhere.
Yeah, I don't have it either, Paula.
Okay, so I don't feel bad.
Okay, so tomorrow or Friday, Ms. Kinsella, could you send that out again? And then we will schedule that probably for when we come back to talk about our other non-public tonight that we need to revisit. Okay, so I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
And then we'll just move it. Okay. Do we have anybody call in?
Oh my gosh.
No. Okay. Do we have any board members who want to make board member comments? Ms. Timmons.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion to adjourn by Ms. Timmons, seconded by Ms. Johnson.
Okay, on the motion to adjourn, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Sweet dreams to you all.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Lottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0 at 10:22 p.m.
All right. Thank you all. And thank you, Ms. Kinsella and Dr. Mosley for sticking with us. Oh, and Mr. Parker. Did I miss anybody? No.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you too. And Jimmy, of course. Thank you, Jimmy, for sticking
And
around.
Jimmy too, yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.